Mountains on the Dakar today. We go from Argentina over the Andes into Chile. The Pacific is on the horizon. Francisco Lopez rides over his own Andes. The local hero comes home. And Mitsubishi in trouble. Do they finally show their Achilles heel? Quick look back at what happened yesterday, stage 6 of the Dakar for 2009, and problems towards the end of the stage for Germany's Dieter Depping. He may well be a world record holder. He holds the 24-hour record.
What's happened
exactly? On behalf of Volkswagen, but he was in trouble.
We have to wait of the race time because we cannot repair here, and yeah, that is.
But as predicted on our last programme, Nasser Al-Attiyah was disqualified last night. He opted to drive around some dunes in order to save an overheating engine, and he missed 9 hidden waypoints. And if you miss 4, you're out. For the overall leader and one of the stars of the Dakar in recent years, it was a sad end. Course to Cote, Bergrennen, Corsa Salita or hill climb. Whatever your language, there was a steep one out there yesterday. Many of the world's best only just made it up. But for even the good privateers, it was nigh on impossible. Energy levels beginning to wane at this point on this year's Dakar, and sometimes the bikes were just getting away from them, even if they were 450s, even if they were going downhill. On board with the 2001 Group N World Rally Champion from Argentina, Gabriel Pozzo. He had a good crack at getting up to the top of the hill and just about got over. He was safe and sound. Now this is Ales Laprace, nephew of former Dakar victor Karel Laprace from the Czech Republic. Can you imagine getting 12 tons of truck up this, and then once you get there, you discover that there are even more dunes? What a mess. This is Michel de Groot and Gabi Ulge digging their McRae Enduro car out of the soft, damp sand. Yes, damp. There had been quite a lot of rain in this part of Argentina, and it was causing even more problems. Having a good run up at the hill climb were many, but if it wasn't hills or dunes, it was a bizarre roller coaster ride for others. Meanwhile, back at the hill climb, this Russian co-driver got left behind, so had to climb it himself. Not four-wheel drive, but two-leg drive. German Matthias Kahl went for the full score from the judges with his crest on the infamous hill. Further towards Mendoza, the farmers were going about their business. It was, well, a normal day out on the farm. While back on board with de Groot and Ulge, they were discovering that there was yet more fesh, more dust. But then, unbelievably, out of the dust, they came into, you're not going to believe this, they came out of the dust and into some rain. Stage 7, we go from Mendoza to Valparaiso, Argentina to Chile. It was a stage of 419 kilometers, but it has been modified to just 243 after recent heavy rainfall made the conditions just too bad. Dawn this morning in Argentina for this day 7 of the 2009 Dakar. The sun came up in a stunning part of the world. The Aconcagua is the highest mountain in the Americas. It's nearly 7,000 meters in height. And putting that into perspective, Mont Blanc in France is just 4,800 meters high. But we're on board with the Frenchman de Klerk aboard his quad. He says, the TV helicopter's here, so I'll try not to crash. But I'll show you how to ride the quad. And it's very difficult to ride because so many vibrations. The problems are the tires and the stones. We must avoid the punctures. He says, I'm going to catch a rider in front of me. Oops, biker nearly goes off. He says the riders hate me because then I give them a load of dust. The little holes are a bit more complicated with a quad over a bike because it can really catch you out, so I must be careful. And when you're not concentrating, just like that, you can crash. He continued on. He's third overall. But there were crowds out like the Dakar has almost never seen before. A national advertising campaign in Argentina and Chile with prime-time television has really brought the crowds out. Going into service last night, it took the cruise 2 hours to do just 20 kilometers. It was thick with people. But the man that they only had eyes for was the local hero. Francisco Lopez, the man from Chile, was their hero, and he did just what they wanted today because he came home as the stage victor. The shortened stage due to the muddy conditions towards the end, well, maybe he would have liked to have gone the whole distance and really start to creep up in the overall standings. But come the finish, he beat the world's best by nearly 4 minutes. Lopez on top of the world in the Andes. Lopez now creeping from 11th into the top 10. Mark Comer on the Repsol KTM, the Kronreif Trunkenpolz Mattigoffen bike from Austria. That's what it stands for. Mark Comer, though, he was second on today's stage, but continues to lead in the overall standings. The quiet man from Barcelona has an overall lead now of 51 minutes and 22 seconds as he comes into the rest day in Valparaiso on the shores of the Pacific Ocean. Sil Dupre having real trouble trying to keep his Works KTM going forward rather than sideways. Dupre, even he saying later that it was very difficult out there. And Comer, he's a big guy, he's a strong rider, and to muscle that 210 kilogram bike through the mud, not easy at all. Dupre third today, and Dupre still struggling from those problems early on, but he's up to 6th position in the overall standings. Now here's the Frenchman, David Frétigné. David Frétigné, one of only 2 non-KTMs inside the top 10 on the stage today. Here he is passing Jordi Villadoms. Frétigné aboard the 450cc Yamaha. And Frétigné really surprising many people to be 3rd in the overall standings. However, he did come to a, well, slight abrupt halt over a small crest. But once he got things sorted and he checked that everything was okay, he managed to fire up the little 450 and get going again. Into the morning sun sped David Castello of France. He was 5th on today's stage. Castello managing though to creep inside the top 10 now with 9th position in the overall standings. Teammate Frans Verhoeven on the number 15 Vectra Racing KTM was right behind him, only a matter of 35 seconds back. Verhoeven is 1 place ahead of Castello in 8th overall. It's quite a close clump of riders between 4th to 10th overall. Very close indeed. It'll be interesting to see how the second week pans out. Now, Palander's Ulavaseta was 7th today. Maybe he should have been a little higher, but Ulavaseta is in 4th overall. The man from Norway with Team Scandinavia no longer got PG Lundmark from Sweden alongside him, but Ulavaseta soldiering on well. Now here's Jonas Street. Street starting the day in 2nd position in the overall standings. The man from Washington State with Team Pan Am has had a good couple of days. Not quite so good today. He lost another 15 minutes today, but he's still in that 2nd overall. However, with the good run of Fretinier today, Street could get caught. Another quick mention for David Schwartz. He's had his penalty taken away. The Aussie now up to 21st position, whilst fellow Aussie, but on a BMW, not a KTM, Simon Pavey is 49th in the overall standings. Rodriguez from Brazil and Portugal were next up. On the stage, Lopez victorious from Coma, Dupre, Fretinier and Castello. Shortened stage today, it was due to be nearly 6 hours. Overall, Coma has extended his advantage over Street from Fretinier, Ulavaseta and Villadoms. Lopez saying at the beginning, I had a good rhythm. There were lots of dunes, it was very technical, very physical. About 120 kilometres though, it was very bumpy but quick. Then we entered into an area of mud where I tried to slow down, but as you can see, there was a lot of mud. I'm covered in it, but I'm really happy. The other day in the dunes I wanted to win. I couldn't then, but I have today. Mark Coma saying the test was different with the sand at the beginning. That was good fun in there, good riding. We could ride fast there. Then it was a bit more complicated with a riverbed and a lot of water. The mud was hard. I had to be careful actually of my brakes in there. But overall, good stage, important before the rest day. The most important thing is to avoid problems each day. But from now on, there's a new rally. We attack the desert of Atacama, where it will be very, very hard. More harder maybe than we have already done so far in this rally.
Donde allí la carrera va a ser durísima y será una carrera completamente distinta a lo que hemos hecho hasta ahora.
Phil Dupre saying the organisation did the right thing to shorten the stage because there was a lot of mud. You've really got to know how to ride a 200-kilogram bike in the mud. It's not easy, but we did well. Francisco Lopez has won today's stage as he rides over the Andes into hometown Chile. Chaleco is his nickname, and we caught up with him to find out. He says, well, Chaleco, the name comes from my father. He gave me a jacket that was made by my grandmother. That's why people call me Chaleco. It's been about 7 years that I've been rally raiding. Other Chilean rider Carlos de Gavado, who knows the Dakar well, pushed me to get going. And he certainly has got going. He's a superstar of this Dakar in 2009, even though he had problems in the early few stages. He said the start of this rally was very hard. I had some problems with my tyres. I burst them a bit and I lost a bit of time with those tyres, but now he's inside the top 10 and preparing for the second half of the rally. I think it's important that the Dakar has come to South America. It's actually a good place, good people here, and even at 4 o'clock in the morning, the support for us, it's just amazing. The motivation I get in Chile is amazing. It's great that we go on into my country, and I hope that the rally will stay here for some time. Francisco Lopez, hero of today's Dakar and a star for the future. There were massive crowds at the start of today's stage 7 of the Dakar 2009. In Argentina, the route was going to take them over the Andes on a shortened route down into Chile. Stefan Pederhansel, he started the day 5th overall as he had a view of Concagua, the tallest mountain outside of Asia at nearly 7,000 meters. But early on in the stage, the 9-time Dakar champion was running into trouble as they got out of the car and they realized that it was actually on fire. The fire extinguisher quickly put into operation by Pederhansel. The last thing he needs to do is actually to lift the bonnet, because all that'll do is let more oxygen in. Jean-Paul Cotret, co-driver, then on the case as Pederhansel feverishly then shoveling sand into the cockpit. Oh, the reigning champion in all sorts of trouble as the smoke continued to rise out of the car that started the day in 5th overall. And with already 2 of the 4 Mitsubishis out, would this be another retirement for the Frenchman? Well, he managed to get going. The engine barked into life momentarily, and he soon got a pace and a bit more of a lick on to try and get some time back. Had he lost 25 minutes or so, he'd be going down to 6th position. But then a little bit further down the stage, it came to a grinding halt. He said this morning there was a fire in the engine, and the engine at that point was running too hot, and we were well over the temperature limit for it. All of the fire was in the front around the engine, and we might be on the limit if we can finish the stage. Well, he did get going again, but the news is that Stefan Pederhansel, only yards later, came to a grinding halt, and Pederhansel, the reigning champion, is out. But at the forefront of today's stage, it was the man from Spain, El Matador, 46 years old. He did his first World Rally in 1988 in a Ford Sierra, and here he is, the old devil himself, still battling on and winning stages. It's his 3rd stage win on this year's Dakar. He sped through 2 hours and 35 minutes. Should have been a 6-hour stage. So Sainz victorious ahead of the American Mark Miller by 3 minutes and 41 seconds. Miller holding that 3rd overall. Sainz has now jumped ahead of Janil de Villiers. So it's still a Volkswagen 1-2-3, but it's Sainz leading overall from de Villiers by just 9 seconds. Mark Miller in 3rd. Which Volkswagen is that? I don't know, you tell me. It's all dust and mud as they come over the Andes into Chile. 3rd on today's stage is Flash. No, not quite, but it's Robbie Gordon in the unlimited suspension travelled Hummer. Developed on the Baja 1000 to similar crowds, I hasten to add. Gordon 3rd on today's stage and steaming through. Nice safe 5th for him. Can he catch Nani Roma in the overall standings? Now the lone Mitsubishi left in this year's Dakar as we come to the halfway point. Well, Gordon needs to chip away, and if he can find another 40 minutes, he'll be knocking on the door of 4th overall. Roma is in that 4th at the moment. Now, we lost Nasser Al-Attiyah late last night. He was disqualified after missing some of the route yesterday into Mendoza. So, the leading BMW is now Gerlan Schischerit. He's 19th overall. Janil de Villiers, the man from near Cape Town in South Africa, started the day with a 7-minute lead, but that has crumbled to just 9 seconds with Carlos Sainz now at the head of this rally on behalf of Volkswagen. But the one thing that de Villiers is adamant about as we come to the halfway point here in Chile is that he's got to keep out of trouble. You can only lose time rather than gain it in the last 7 stages. Eric Figueroa was in America before Christmas. He was actually on the internet looking to where he could go skiing over the Christmas break, but then he had a phone call from Robbie Gordon, and Gordon said, "Do you want to do the Dakar in one of my Hummers?" And Figueroa said yes. He's 26th overall, he was 7th today, just 1 place ahead of Krzysztof Holovic, the Polish driver aboard the Nissan, with Belgian Jean-Marc Fortin alongside him. Bit of an older car, but certainly holding its own. Holovic 6th overall. Now, if you want dust and you want it deep, just look at this. This is Yanis Azis, the Latvian, his Osk car, getting beached. And then Dieter Depping arrives. Dieter Depping, the man who lost some time yesterday with the broken turbocharger, he arrives and fortunately just misses Azit's Oscar and manages to get through to the finish. Depping 9th overall, just 1 place ahead of Dutchman Kuipers in his BMW. After some rain that we had on the stage yesterday, you just cannot believe the amount of dust that was still out there today. Results today: Sainz from Miller, Gordon, Roma and Shisharit. The Spaniard just ahead of 2 Americans. Overall, Carlos Sainz now retakes the lead of the Dakar by just 9 seconds in nearly 24 hours of racing ahead of Janil de Villiers. Miller, he's 3rd. Sainz saying the stage was good, even if it was hard. There was a zone with mud, it was slippery for the car. There were also some very difficult bits, very bumpy straights, very difficult indeed.
Because it's hard to imagine that these stages are actually been shortened because they're so difficult. The special tests are so difficult. Today there was mud in the Fesh, and then when Fesh is muddy, you have no control. It's like being on ice. And yeah, it was Carlos and Janil and I were just going in circles and looping, and absolutely insane, really.
Daniel Roma saying it's most important to keep on fighting. Behind them there is a huge lot of people who are doing a lot of hard work for us. They've built us an incredible car, but it's brand new. We must fight again each day and to try and catch Volkswagen. Many things can happen. The car will improve as the race goes on. Robbie Gordon is a star of the Dakar. He's won the Baja 1000 3 times, IndyCar races and NASCAR races too. But his American-developed Hummer is a stellar piece of kit. It's the H2 version of the Hummer for Gordon this year. Narrower, shorter, lighter and better. It is a multi-million-dollar car, and it is one hell of a machine.
With version 2, it has 2 radiators in the front. They interlink each other, so if you have a problem, we could bypass one and still run on one radiator. So if we pop a hole in the radiator, we don't lose it. That's how I lost the 2006 rally. We were eliminated, poked a hole in the radiator, had water, but I couldn't fix my radiator. Now I got 2 radiators, so the chances of poking the hole in 2 of them is less. The front suspension, we are 2-wheel drive. We are not 4-wheel drive. They allow us a little bit more wheel travel. We get about 18 inches of wheel travel, about this much. Why is the shock so big? Well, 1 instead of 2. Make it simple. If we got to change them, we just change 1 shock instead of having to change 2. 1 coilover, 1 shock. In the back over here, we've got the LS7 Chevrolet engine. Actually, GM, they send us an engine builder, tuner, etc. with us on the rally. and look after it. So Hummer is involved very much on this program. With my restrictor that the ASO gives me, I am suffocating. It's like running a marathon through a straw.
But racing is in Gordon's blood. He knows almost nothing else. But he's heroically having a good old go at the works teams, and they've got more budget. But the mean monster machine is making its mark, snapping at the heels of the multi-million euro efforts of Volkswagen and Mitsubishi. Robbie Gordon, currently 5th, coming into the rest day here on the Dakar. Can he get a podium come Buenos Aires? Tomorrow is the traditional rest day. It marks the crucial opportunity for crews to take much-needed rest. Mechanics will repair the cars, and they won't have to watch the clock before they jump in a car for an early start. We'll have a program for you next time.